By the end of this episode, we are going to know how much it costed the client to do the superstructure works and the roof structure works for this project. For the superstructure works, this includes the walling. We have formwork for the suspended floor slabs. Then we have the plaster works, electrical works, and plumbing works. To start with, the walling, especially for the ground floor, when we're doing the setting out, we use something called the DPC. This is the damp-proof course. This is usually used to prevent moisture from penetrating from the ground floor or from the basement. The DPC cost ranges between 2,200 and 2,400 Kenyan shillings per roll. For every alternate course during your walling, we use something we call the hoop iron or mukwa, as referred to by our skilled masons. Yeah, this hoop iron ranges between 3,200 and 3,500 Kenyan shillings per roll. Machine cuts, they used the grey Ndarugo machine cuts, which comes in different sizes. We have the 200 millimeter by 200 millimeter. The cost ranges between 50 and 55 shillings. This is the 8 by 8. We have the 200 millimeter by 150 millimeter. This is the 8 by 6. The cost ranges between 45 and 50 Kenyan shillings. Then we have the 200 millimeter by 100 millimeter. This is the 8 by 4, and the cost ranges between 40 and 45 shillings. This cost will depend with the quarry you're getting your machine cuts from and the location of your site from the quarry. So for this project, they used the 200 millimeter by 200 millimeter entirely. That is for the external walls and for the internal walls. This is mainly because the walls for this project were meant to act as load bearing. That's why they opted to use the 200 millimeter by 200 millimeter externally and internally. In most cases, for the partitioning, that is the internal walls, most people use the 8 by 6, which is the walling. Something to note: for you to get value for your money, a skilled mason is expected to build between 130 and 150 pieces of the machine cuts in a day. And the walling was done, we go to the formwork for the suspended floor slab. For this project, we have 2 suspended floor slabs. That is the first floor and the second floor. Then we go to the rooftop. So for the formwork, we have the gum poles. We have the 3 by 2 timber and the 6 by 1 timber. We also have trappers and marine boards. For the gum poles, the cost ranges between 200 and 220 shillings per one piece, also depending on where you get your gum poles from. If you are having a mega project or you have several project poles, you can opt to purchase the round or the circular mild steel pipes. Then they can be fabricated for you. You use them as your props. Then for the 3 by 2 and the 6 by 1, the cost ranges between 28 shillings and 35 shillings per feet. For the slab formwork, for this project, they opted to hiring trappers, which was cost effective to them because they only have 2 slabs. Yeah, hiring of trappers, they were hiring them at between 100 and 110 shillings. That is per trapper for the period of 30 days. But if you're having a mega project or several projects, you can opt to get marine boards, which can be used 3 to 4 times. The marine boards, the cost ranges between 2,600 and 3,000 Kenyan shillings. Then also you can opt to have your own trappers fabricated for you. So you can purchase the MS plate. This is the mild steel plate and the tubes. Then you have your trappers fabricated for you, which you can use for many which you can use in different projects. A formwork is completed, we have the steel fixing. Then after that, we have the electrical work, we have the plumbing work. For the electrical work, they do what we call slab pointing. Yeah, for the electrical work, they usually use conduits, which come in different sizes. We have the 20 mm conduit, we have a 25 mm, and we have a 32 mm. The price ranges between 135 and 360 Kenyan shillings. This depends on the the size of the conduit you are using, and also the brand that you're going to pick for your project. Then after that, for the plumbing works, they usually do for pointing, either for the sleeves, for the drains, that is the floor traps. Plumbing works, they use PVC pipes. We have several brands, yes, and also the price differs depending on the size of the PVC you are using. Is it 2-inch PVC? Is it 1.5-inch PVC? Electrical and plumbing works are done. The structural engineer visits the site prior to casting for the inspection. Then he or she approves for you to go ahead with the casting. For this project, for the first floor suspended slab and the second floor suspended slab, they opted to use the ready-mix concrete. By ready-mix, I mean the concrete is batched, or rather it's prepared in a batching plant. Then it's brought to you on site when it's ready for pouring. You can either use a boom pump for pouring the concrete, or the fixed concrete pumps for pouring the concrete. Why currently most clients or contractors are opting to use the ready-mix, as much as it's a little bit expensive compared to the manual casting on site. One, the ready mix is its quality. You can't compare the quality for the ready mix site like the casting situ. Then secondly, on material wastage. During casting on site, for instance, when you're ordering for materials, if you need like around 30 tons of sand or 40 tons of sand, you have to add an extra like 5% because of the wastage that will definitely occur. But when you're using ready mix, chances of wastage, they are very minimal. That's on time. If you're casting, say, 120 cubic for a certain slab, using ready mix, you can roughly take 5 to 6 hours maximum. When you're casting on site, you'll use like almost the whole day, or even go for extra hours. Now that after casting was done, we go to the second floor walling, then the casting of the second floor, then we do the second floor walling, then after that, they casted the ring beam so that to enable them to do the roof structure. The type of roof structure used in this project is the steel roof structure. By steel, I mean they used the RHS and the SHS. These are the rectangular hollow sections and the square hollow sections. For the RHS, we have them in different sizes. We have 100mm by 75mm by 2mm thickness or 3mm thickness. We have a 75mm by 50mm by 2mm. Then for the SHS, as the name says, it's a square hollow section. So it's either 50mm by 50mm, 70mm by 70mm. What changes or what varies is the thickness, which can either be 2mm, 3mm, or 1.5mm. For the RHS and the SHS, the cost ranges between 180 all the way to 260 Kenyan shillings per kg. This depends on the size of the tube that you're going to use. Steel structure was completed. What followed was the drilling of the laminated board. These are usually drilled into the steel structure. The laminated board, the cost ranges between 3,200 and 3,600 Kenyan shillings. That is per piece. After that, we go to the installation of the APP membrane, which the cost ranges between 5,000 and 6,000 per roll. And one roll of this APP membrane covers an approximate area of 8.7 to 10 square meters, depending on the lapping that you're going to do. So after the roof structure was done, we've included the plastering internally and externally, because they were going to do the paintworks as their final finish for the external wallings. We use cement and sand. And the most preferred type of sand to use for your plastering works is the river sand, which I had said previously The cost ranges between 1,800 and 2,200 Kenyan shillings, that is per ton. For you to get the value for your money, a skilled mason in a single day, he or she is expected to do between 15 and 20 square meters of plaster. So all this, the summation of all this, the superstructure, that is the walling, formwork for the suspended slabs, casting of the slabs, electrical works, plumbing works, and plaster works. All this costed the client a total sum of 9 million. Then for the steel structure roof, it costed the client a total sum of 2 million. When you sum this up, this is adding up to 11 million. Then for the substructure, if you've not watched that video, I'll leave the link in the description box. It costed the client 2 million. So for the client to do the substructure works, to do the superstructure works, all the way to the roof structure, and the plastering of both internally and externally, it has costed the client a total sum of 13 million. This is all inclusive. That is the labor and the materials, bearing in mind that the client involved the entire construction team. That is the architect, quantity surveyor, the structural engineer, the main contractor, electrical engineer, and the plumbers. For our next episode, we're going to do a cost review of the finishes for this project. We're going to do the floor finish. Did they use tiles? Did they use the timber floor finish? For the walls, do we have paintworks? Do we have 3D painting? Do we have wallpapers? Then for the ceiling, did they use paintworks? Is the finish gypsum? And if it's gypsum, what are the designs? Please subscribe, put on your notification bell to get notified when that video is uploaded, so don't miss out on the next episode.